Okay, if you're Norwegian or planning on visiting Norway, I've got a question for you. Would you prefer to go along those scenic roads looking at all that beautiful nature, or would you like to travel super, super fast on a new highway? Well, you tell me in the comments, and we're going to watch this video all together to find out more. Check out the B1M.
The western coast
Stunning.
of Norway is home to some of the most dramatic landscapes on Earth. Carved by glaciers throughout the ages, some of these fjords stretch for 200 kilometres inland and are over a kilometre deep.
I'm going to make a really quick point here about my initial comment at the start of the video. Do you want to take a scenic trip or go really, really fast? Now, this is stunning. Absolutely stunning. However, I almost feel that it could potentially become a case of, once you've seen one lot of fireworks, you've sort of seen them all. Once you've seen one church, a cathedral, you've pretty much seen most of them. How long, now you could say you'll never get bored of it, but how long can you drive with very similar scenery and then get a bit fed up and just want to be in the destination? So that's just me being in the middle here, me being the antagonist a little bit. Yeah, think of that.
The current convoluted travel route through and around this terrain takes you along Norway's 1,100 kilometre, 683 mile E39 highway.
It's a long way.
A road with a total journey time of 21 hours. Now, the Norwegian government are working to improve access to services and residential and labour markets across the country's western regions by embarking on the largest infrastructure projects in the nation's history.
That is huge. It's so long. $47 billion. Oh.
Norway's E39 highway runs between Kristiansund in the far south of the country and Trondheim in the north. The route navigates its way across the fjord network and features no fewer than 7 ferry crossings. The new coastal highway project aims to eliminate the need for ferry services altogether by building a series of bridges and tunnels across, through and under the landscape.
What would be even better is if that was like you could drive automated. It would be good if you could if we're not currently at the times of automated vehicles, which we're close, ish. If you could have it on rails or something like that, and you just have your car and it just goes, and you could be like a car train crossover, and then you could just sit there and you don't have to be concentrating the whole time. That's what you want. That would be really, really good.
With many of the fjords along the route being too wide or too deep for conventional infrastructure to cross, innovative new solutions are being investigated by the Norwegian Public Roads Administration.
It's going to be a bloody nightmare if they do it, though, won't it?
Rogfast is the first in a series of crossings that will link the E39, connecting Stavanger and Haugesund via a 27-kilometre, 16-mile undersea tunnel. This structure will reach depths of up to 390 metres below sea level, making it the deepest as well as the longest undersea road tunnel in the world. The Rogfast project will in fact consist of 2 tunnels connected every 250 metres with emergency exits. Each tunnel will have a lay-by at 500-metre intervals, along with telephone and surveillance cameras along the route.
I think that's just a basic must.
Feature a mid-route intersection with the island municipality of Kvitsøy, creating an undersea tunnel junction and connecting the island with the Norwegian mainland. With work begun in 2018, this element of the project is set to be completed by 2026 at a cost of $2 billion.
That's next year. I wonder if this video was done, I think in 2018, so a while ago. I wonder how much of this is actually now complete. Surely a lot of it. I don't know. The problem is quite often with different changes in government, things slow down, things change. And So how much progress has been made? You can tell me in the comments, and obviously while you're there, hit that like button and subscribe. But what a mammoth feat of engineering. It's all great to put it on paper and imagine it, but then the engineers and architects or whatever have to actually design and think of the way to do it, and under the field, like I can't even comprehend.
While the rock-fast works are already underway, the scale of some other fjords is presenting the project team with extreme engineering challenges. Bjørnafjord, located to the south of Bergen, stands 5 kilometers wide and reaches depths of 600 meters.
Cool.
To cross this challenging stretch of water, a proposal has been put forward for a floating bridge, anchored to the shore at both ends. The Sulafjord crossing has seen 2 possible solutions put forward. The first is for a 3-tower suspension bridge, with 2 of the bridge's towers anchored on land, and the 3rd central tower anchored to the sea floor, some 400 metres below the waterline. An alternative proposal for a submerged floating tunnel would see 2 interconnected tubes running side by side, tethered to the seabed using high-strength cables. Crossing the Rumdelsfjord will require a 16-kilometre undersea tunnel, much like the Rogfast project, from Ålesund to Midsund, followed by a 2-kilometre suspension bridge connecting onto Molde. By far the most complex and ambitious of all the coastal highway crossings is that at Sognefjord, also known as the King of the Fjords. Norway's largest and deepest fjord is over 3.7 kilometres wide and an incredible 1.3 kilometres deep.
Oh, that is crazy deep.
While these extreme distances pose their own challenges, engineers must also account for the high number of ships that enter the fjord on a regular basis.
I was just about to say, so there are serious complications here because, I think even my mum is going on a cruise to the fjords later this year, I think, or maybe start next year. And there are so many ships that do cruises around the fjord. So if you think of, for example, bridges, okay, that's fine. One, the size of them, the length, you have to think about the weather conditions because the wind and how stable and safe they are. You've also got to think of the height because these cruise ships, that you're not going to stop them, are you? Because that's money, I assume. So you're not going to stop them. And then if it goes underwater, it has to be deep enough that it's not going to affect anything on top. This is too much for my brain, but I suppose this isn't what I do. So it's I don't need to think about this, but absolute mammoth tasks. And I would say that this is probably really important to grow the country for the Norwegians that live in the country. Less so for tourists, because tourists are probably fine to do these scenic trips. But it's certainly going to be more important for the residents of Norway, especially for things like shipping goods and whatnot. And that makes sense, trade and things like that. And it just possibly stops places being as isolated as they are currently, which may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing. I don't know.
Any crossing must allow for a clear shipping lane that is at least 400 metres wide, with 70 metres clearance
and there's been a
above
lot
the
of
water's
accidents
surface, and at least 20 metres clearance into the depths.
Yeah.
To deliver this, the project team are considering numerous different types of crossing for this fjord. The first is a traditional suspension bridge. With a 3,700 metre crossing, such a structure would be almost double the length of the world's current longest bridge and would require support towers at least 450 metres tall.
I don't think I'd want to go over that bridge.
Eclipsing the 343 metre tall Millau Viaduct in France to become the world's tallest bridge structure. A floating bridge is also being considered. However, this structure would need to raise to allow ships to pass, and achieving such a feature
that adds so much more
only
complexity.
Each shoreline poses considerable engineering challenges that are yet to be overcome. In a similar proposal to that found at Sulafjord, A submerged floating tunnel is also being considered. This proposal would differ slightly to its counterpart due to the extreme depth of Sognefjord.
Would a floating tunnel not... How would they stop any sort of movement? Or maybe want some movement, but if things... I assume things are made out of concrete and whatnot. So I don't... That doesn't seem that practical either. Surely, whatever is built has to be fixed in place. I can't see you having anything floating, especially for that distance. You know, with shipping lanes and the cruises going in, it doesn't make sense. So I think whatever was made would have to be solid and, you know, put in place and yeah, not floating. Just surely not.
Rather than being tethered to the seabed, the tunnels would be suspended from floating pontoons that would allow ships to pass overhead. A hybrid proposal is also being considered, combining a floating pontoon bridge with a portion of submerged floating tunnel that allows ships to pass. Whilst fixed bridges transferring into fixed tunnels is not an uncommon solution in waterways with high shipping traffic, such as the link between Denmark and Sweden and the extensive Hong Kong to Macau crossing, combining the two floating structures in this way would create the world's first example of such a solution. Finally, a proposal for a multi-span cable-stayed bridge is under review. This structure would feature 4 floating pylons tethered to the seafloor, rather like oil rigs. With safety and environmental considerations being of the utmost importance, Norway's vast coastal highway project is set to become a new benchmark in engineering capabilities and a model for future infrastructure projects around the world. If you enjoyed this video and would like to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, subscribe to the B1M.
It's so difficult to comprehend, isn't it? What an incredible feat if they can do it. Now, this is, like I said, over, it's 2025 now. This video was released on the 22nd of August, 2018. So there's been some time. I would love to know in the comments, help me out. And if there's any update videos, please put that in the comments as well. I'd love to know what kind of has actually happened. Has any solutions been found? But I just think some serious challenging feats. Like I said, it's so... What's a designer's incredible kind of imagination is an engineer's nightmare, isn't it? Because they've got to try and figure out how the hell they do it. Oh, yes, we got this brilliant idea. You now figure out how to do it. And there are so many solutions. You've got to be careful as well of not damaging the environment, you know, the beautiful environment. You don't want to damage that. And you've got to kind of keep in lines with keeping nature has to come first, surely. But it does make sense in the sense of, for Norwegians, being able to travel faster, that's including, you know, holidaying, work, for transport of goods and things. It's really important. And actually, if you want the country to grow in population and things like that, then you need to make the road networks better. So, oh man, I'm just trying to think how the hell they do some of this stuff. There's so many challenges, and I can't even think. Just like you think of the whole thing of the Eurotunnel that we have from the United Kingdom, Dover to France, Dover to Calais. Even that's incredible. Thinking about that, I'm thinking, I've never been on it, and I'm thinking, how do they build? I should watch a video, really, shouldn't I? That's what YouTube's for. But I'm thinking, how do they get a tunnel without it flooding and then... I don't know. It's incredible, but what an incredible thing this will be if it actually is achieved. But I want an update. If you have if you've seen a video or want to give me an update on how this is going, have any solutions to these problems been found, let me know in the comments. And it has been a pleasure to keep learning about Norway. Fascinating country. Like I said, it's basically our neighbours. Norway is our neighbours, and we probably don't think of it like that. But it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I'm so glad to have you here with me. Please like and subscribe. And as always, I'll catch you next time.